I want to do a few things, but I thought we could start with, so some of you have submitted your assignments already. Some of you have yet to submit the first assignment. Like Rachel, you still have to, Chisoma, you still have to, and your name? Modesta. You haven't submitted it yet either, right? You did? You did, okay. So I've graded the ones that I received, and I'll hand them back at the end of class for those who are here. It was very interesting. So the assignment was to describe your experience with projects, with a project that you've been a part of. And it was really interesting to hear the kinds of projects that you all have been involved in, what the projects are aiming to do, what you've learned. And I'm wondering, I think it would be nice to have an opportunity to share with each other somehow what our experience with projects. And the other thing, part of the assignment was what we hope to get from this class. What do you hope to learn from this class? It's a simple assignment. Basically, you just write your own experience and your own hopes or expectations of this class in a page or more, 500 words or so, and that was it. And on the subject of what you hope to learn, there was an interesting set of responses, and so nearly everyone said something like, I want to learn better project management so I can ensure projects are successful, so forth. Sort of a general thing. But then some people had a more specific, many people had then a particular hope. So for example, someone wanted to learn about how they can use knowledge of project management to help them align their projects or their contribution to projects, procurement projects specifically, with business strategy. Another one, and then also to improve how they manage time and communication with stakeholders, projects. Another one talked about wanting to learn more about project stages, how to be more planful when beginning an effort so in order to be successful, for a project to succeed, there needs to be a plan. To start with a plan, and what should be in the plan, so those kinds of things. How to save money along the way, how to carry out the project. One person mentioned, and this one was really interesting to me. They said, I reworded it in my own words, I'm paraphrasing, but essentially they said to learn how do you maintain or create, first of all, unity within a project team. How do you start with shared vision, shared expectations, a shared understanding, and then how do we ensure so that as issues come up in the course of a project, which they always will, that we have this strong foundation of what are we planning, what are we hoping to achieve, how are we planning to achieve it, who would do what, and so forth. That if you have a strong unity, then when a problem comes up, when there is an issue, it's easier to resolve it. It's easier to solve problems when we are unified. And that was, I thought, a very important aspect of projects. So when we think about projects, I think there's two major elements to it. So projects, there's all the, I'm going to call them the mechanics. The mechanics of a project. So mechanics is, anybody know what mechanics means here? From what I guess. So obviously, I don't mean the person who fixes your car. That's one kind of mechanic. That's not what this is. So the mechanics is the way you do something. So the mechanics of writing, how do you hold when you're teaching a little child how to write? So you hold the pen like this, not like this, and then you hold your arm, and you move your hand. That's the mechanics of writing. I'm not teaching you what to write, I'm teaching you how to write. So the mechanics of projects are planning, all the techniques and tools, so planning, time management, budgets, monitoring and evaluation, and so on. We have documentation. All of these are things you can learn. You can go to a workshop, you can get a training, you can read a textbook, you can go online, you can ask somebody. These are things you learn, they're skills. These are all skills. Mechanics are things you can learn, right? The other part of projects is people and relationships. And so what kinds of things come under here? Let's think together and see if we can come up with, if we think about projects, what we know about projects, projects that we have been part of. What are some relationships in projects between people? What kinds of relationships are there? Or issues that relate to people? Any ideas? If you think of the word in another language, say it in that language and then we'll figure out the translation. Employee, employer. Okay. That's one. Good. Let's think of some more. Can you add one? Maybe take a minute and then write down quietly. Think of as some. If you can think of 1, 2, 3, and write down what some other people and relationship things would be. So a little exercise. Hi. Do you have something to write? Yeah. Maybe try pair with the first. Okay, let's do one more together. Does anybody have another suggestion for what people and relationships in relation to projects? Buyers and sellers. I will add vendors also. Vendor, I think more of an organization, a company. I don't know, when you say seller, do you mean a person or do you mean a company? Both. Both. Okay. So in the context of projects, there's what people have to do is communicate, right? Communication among people. Why do they need to communicate? What do they need to communicate about? If you and I are working together on a project, what do we need to communicate about? Say again? Work-related issues. Yes. What else? We need to communicate about work. We need to communicate about what are we trying to achieve, our goals. Yeah. What are we trying to do together? If I work on the project and I think the goal is to increase sales, and you're working on the project in the same project, and you think the goal is to improve quality, then we're going to be doing different things. And then at some point, we have to make a decision, but we're going to find it very difficult because I think we're trying to do this, and you think we're trying to do that. And now we're pulling in different directions. And how easy is it to move when you're pulling in different directions? I can put a lot of force. I can pull very hard, and you pull very hard. So when I say you're pulling hard, I'm putting a lot of my emotion and my energy and saying, no, but this is, and giving good reasons why, but if we want to reduce costs, we have to do this, and because this reason, and that. I can talk a lot, and you can do the same thing. We can put a lot of energy into trying to convince the other person or the other people why we should go this way. But because we didn't actually align on our goals. We didn't start with the same vision of what we're trying to accomplish. And this is one of the key reasons why projects fail. We didn't actually agree on what we want to do. And when I say we didn't agree on what we want to do, maybe more accurate is we didn't agree on why we want to. We may have a plan, and we all agreed on the plan. We said, okay, we're going to go find 3 vendors, we're going to evaluate them by this and this date, and then our budget is this much, and we have a whole plan. We all agree. So why does the project go wrong, even though we have a plan? Many projects fail, even though they have a very good plan. Right? Why would they fail if they have a good plan? Isn't a plan all we need? If we have a good plan, we follow the plan, then it should succeed, right? Seems reasonable. But in reality, they don't. Having a good plan is necessary. I'm not saying it's not important. It's important to have a plan, but it's not enough. What comes before the plan is goals. And to agree on goals, we have to communicate. Now, how do we communicate in a way that we arrive at the same understanding of the goal? What are some ways we communicate? I want you to think. So, one way we communicate is through talking, right? Another way we communicate is through writing. Do you think it's enough that I write and you write and we have agreed on our goal? Is it enough to write? No. What happens if we just write?
Won't be able to get it clear.
So you will read what I wrote, and you will understand something. But maybe what I wrote was not exactly clear. I tried to explain, but you understood some things differently than I meant it. So writing is not enough. So we have to talk. Is it enough to give a presentation? So some projects, you can imagine there's a big group of people, there'll be a room like this, you all come, you sit, somebody stands up and says, welcome everyone, we want to have a project to improve water quality in this area, da 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 da. Have we all achieved the same, are we all clear on the same goal? If I give a presentation. You know what I think, right? But do I know what you think? No, not enough to give a presentation. Okay, so what's another way? What else could I do? So now you're part of the team, but the project has only heard my thinking. Right? So you think of the project as the thing that is more than any person. The project belongs to the whole team. So if the whole team only hears from one person, has the whole team really understood and agreed on what the goal is? No. You need to hear from everyone. Everyone has to have the opportunity to say, or to ask questions. So maybe I give a presentation and then I say, okay, are there questions? Then you have questions. You say, well, but why are we doing it in this area? What about the next village over actually has a worse problem with water? Oh, it's part of the plan. Or you say, why are we trying to improve water? What they really need is food. The problem isn't water, it's food. Or the problem isn't water, it's something else. Okay? So then we say, well, what are we trying to do? Are we trying to help people, or are we trying to build water things? So what is our real aim? And that only comes out through conversation, through talking, that involves everyone. Yeah. So communication can be written, it can be verbal. Verbal can be a presentation. I can present. We can consult, which is what I just described. There's a group of us that we all are contributing our thoughts, our ideas, our questions, hearing from everyone else, until the whole group has arrived at the same understanding. Welcome to Classroom 2.0.
Thank you.
When you're done, can you pass it to our friend in the back? Oh, you also haven't signed it yet. You have? You have. Okay, so. Yeah, just make sure. So it can be verbal. You can give presentations. You can have consultation. So there's a variety of ways of communicating. And you have to think about which one is most appropriate. What is the right kind of communication for the aim, for my purpose? So sometimes in a project, written is enough. If you're sending a progress report to all the major stakeholders, maybe written is enough. This is the plan, these are the milestones, this is where we are at, here's our progress, everything is going well, and that's enough. So written was good. Maybe they want a presentation halfway through the project to see how is it going, let's have a evaluation so far, or a monitoring. But when you present, really, you're not presenting in order to hear, you're presenting in order to give. So things have already been decided or discussed, so I'm reminding everyone, for example, the project manager in the other section, one of the students worked on a project where they sprayed households against mosquitoes. They had these very heavy-duty chemicals. So every morning they would meet at the hospital, I think. They would get the equipment, they would drive them to this village, and they would go to all the homes. People would have to leave the house, and then they would spray, and they'd have to wait 4 hours before they can come back. It's kind of toxic chemicals. And so every morning they had a briefing. There would be a presentation. Today we're going to this in this village. There will be this many households. We have one piece of equipment broken, so you and you are going to work together. Da 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 da. So that's more of a presentation kind of setting. So there are times when this is the right way to communicate. So the other kind of communication. We communicate in order to make decisions. Sometimes you make a decision by yourself. You might be the project manager, you might be a team member, you have to decide how I'm going to do my task. So when you're deciding by yourself, that's usually simple, always. Even if I'm the one deciding, it's still useful to communicate. To say to my team member, I've been given this task, I think I should go about it this way. I think I should do it this way. Do you have a different idea? And he might say, yeah, that sounds good. Or she might say, actually, when I did it this way, and it went faster. Oh, great, thank you. All right, and now I can proceed. It's still my decision, but it's useful to ask other people. This is a key skill for a project manager. Even if you're the one making decisions, you want to consult other people. You want to hear other people's input. Especially if they're the ones who are going to do the work, or who will be impacted by the work. So if I'm making a decision about where we should buy our supplies, and I don't ask my procurement team member I just make a decision because I think I know, or because the plan said this, and so I'm just following the plan. But I don't go and check with the team member in charge of procurement to say, is this still the right vendor to use? And my team member might say, yeah, that's fine. Or my team member might say, the last 2 deliveries they were supposed to make, they were late. So yes, we chose them at the beginning of the project, but now we have learned through experience that they're late. They don't deliver on time. Then I can go, is it okay if they deliver late? Does my plan have to change? Or do we decide, well, is there another vendor you would suggest that we try? And he might say, no, they're the only ones. We just have to know that it'll be late. Or he might say, well, actually, there's 2 other ones we could go and ask. Say, okay, can you find out? And then come back and tell me. I'm still the one making the decision, but I need to get information from other people. So being a project manager is not about being king. It's not about, I have authority and I tell everybody else what to do. There's I don't know what you call it, in, is it a parable? Metaphor? Metaphor. That does anybody know who Confucius is? Confucius is a Chinese philosopher, thinker from 2,000-3,000 years ago. And he wrote a book which is full of wisdom. If you are interested, I encourage you to read it. So one of the things he said is to be a good king or emperor, he says you have to be a servant of people. The greatest emperor serves his people. And he said just like...
I'm looking for Mercy.
Presence is requested. We will await your return. So he said, just like the biggest body of water. What is the biggest body of water on Earth? This is not a trick question. What is the biggest body of water? What do we call it?
Pacific?
The ocean. Yeah, the Pacific is the biggest. So an ocean is the biggest body of water. And is it higher or lower than all the other water on Earth? Is the ocean high or is the ocean low? It's low, right? Water flows downhill into the sea, into the ocean. So all water collects in a lake, and then from the lake it flows to the sea, into the ocean. So the ocean, to be the biggest of the emperor, you have to be the lowest. And then people will come to you. So to be the one in charge is actually to be humble and a servant of others. And that is the best project managers. That is how they are. They cultivate, they practice being a servant of others. Being there to say, what can I do to make your work easier? Whatever your work is. Or let me hear, I see that you seem hesitant. You have a concern. Tell me about it. I want to understand. And then you said, or you seem distracted lately. What's going on in your life? Is something happening that is having an impact on your life? On your ability to work? You say, yeah, I'm very worried. My child is sick. I've been up all night. And I go, oh, what can we do to help? Yeah. That's what the best project managers do. So the role of a project manager is, of course, to know all the mechanics, to use them appropriately, right? To coordinate, making a plan, keeping on top of time, budgets, monitoring and evaluation, documentation, and so on. But the bigger part, or as big, but I would say even bigger, is this. It's knowing people. So I said communication. The other one is, so I said in your assignment, somebody talked about, you want to learn how do you build a shared understanding, a shared vision of a project so that when issues arise, which we all know they will, no project goes perfectly to plan, ever. When issues arise, we have good relations already. We understand each other, we know what we're trying to do, and so we can easily come up with a solution. Is it going to right there? Communication, unity. So unity is the quality of a group of people that love each other, trust each other, have a shared goal, know what they're trying to accomplish. They all know what they're trying to do together. They support one another. Yeah, so there's lots of things that come out of being unified. In pairs, we're an even number, so this works well. So in pairs, I would like you to spend a few minutes sharing with each other the benefits to a project of having unity. And then each of you can share with the class what the other one said. Is that right? So two together, two together, two together, two together, two together, two together. So you're sharing with each other. So let's say one of you will share for 2 minutes. Or, and then the other one can share what are the benefits of unity in a project. So this is the question that you're sharing about. I'm not sure why I'm seeing phones. You don't need phones for this exercise. Unless it's the transits. Does every group have something? Alright. A couple of groups are still right, so we'll give you another 30 seconds and then. Okay. So let's hear from, we'll go around this way. So maybe group one, Ignat and Francis.
It helps in time management.
It helps with
In time management.
time management.
Yeah, it helps
How?
through the project and everybody together. They're moving together. They help in reducing time for the project to.
Okay.
It's a promotion of teamwork.
Teamwork.
Yeah, we have two
Well, it's teamwork. Next group. Thank you.
It helps in making the right decisions.
What was that? You added something.
It helps to achieve goals easily.
How? Why? If you give an answer, you should be able to explain why you have that answer. We're going to go to one group and come back. I'm still learning everyone's names, so I apologize that I don't. Maybe give me your name and then both of you. And then...
The other is okay, you don't know that.
Is this how you want to manage a project?
Give us another point. You're the guy you want.
It's their turn to share. Yes.
Okay, encourages mutual understanding of this.
Mutual understanding and respect. Good. Mutual, I'm gonna write up here, it's down there, there's not much space. Mutual understanding. I'm gonna use a shorthand. UND apostrophe G and UK. Why is that necessary in a project? Can't I do a project even if I don't expect you? I can make you do what I want.
When people are united, they are only listening to each other's idea, have more experience in whatever they are doing.
Back to you guys. You said decision making. It helps with decision making. And that's what you said, right? And I asked why. If you want to explain it in Chichewa, and then we'll translate it.
So we're still thinking.
Trust.
So I don't know.
Spirit of collaboration.
Yes.
Want to help us?
Okay, in a team when ideas are shared, it helps you, you will come up with one decision and you feel like this one is the basic solution to go this way.
So consultation goes with decision making. And consultation is only, real consultation is only possible if there is unity. If a group of people is not unified, if I don't like you, and I don't trust you, and I don't respect you, we can't have a real consultation. I'm not really going to listen. I might sit there quietly, but I'm not listening seriously to what you say. And you might have very important points, but I'm not really listening. So then even though you created, so think about it, if you're on a team or you're in charge, you're a project manager of some kind, and you organize, okay, we have a meeting, we need to discuss this plan or this problem, and I want to hear from people and everybody talks, but people are not listening seriously to each other. How effective is that meeting? Will it produce a good result? So there has to be unity. So your first task, and the hardest, I think, for a project manager is to create unity. Yeah. And it's a simple word, 5 letters, but it's challenging to do. But I will give you, there are 2 things that, actually let's finish going around and then I'll tell you how you could do it. Next group.
Brings value to the project.
How does it do that?
Because colleagues agree on the thinking and achieving one goal.
So you get a unified goal. So I think I'll write it down here. So you agree on goals, which means the project delivers good or not. Okay? Next group. Sharon, yes. It helps with how to use it. What is it?
It helps really helps one to learn something and how to use it.
How to learn something and how to use what you learn. Okay, cool. How does Unity do that?
When there's teamwork,
So unity, we're saying unity helps us to learn and to apply what we learn. How does it help us to learn? So you here, for example, you're all trying to learn. Is unity important here? Yeah? Do you want to add anything? Good, thank you.
it helps to share an idea. So there is
Transparency, and what was the first one?
transparency.
Sharing of ideas. Okay. Let's add, we'll put transparency down here. How does it promote transparency?
Because as a statement, you trust the people and you people trust you. So there is
So unity,
and also it's easy to share ideas if there are no actions and
it's easy to share ideas. So unity breeds trust. Trust allows people to share ideas. And the more ideas, I will add not just ideas, but also, and very important, it allows you to share problems. Sharing an idea is easy. Oh, what if we do this? What if we do this? What if we try that? That's easy. But how easy is it to say, I'm having trouble. We're not on track. We're going to be late. This is hard and I don't know how to do it. That's not easy to say, is it? For anyone. So if your team is having trouble, or they're going to miss the deadline, they're going to not be able to follow the plan, you want to know. Not because you're going to punish them. That would be counterproductive. That would be the opposite of what you want. When you're punished, does it make you want to do better? No. So you need trust to get people to share ideas, but also to share problems. Okay, last week. Who's going to share? You're going to ask the last person who came to share? Mention a few again. It's good to hear them again.
Modification of ideas, issues of collaboration, which may be more a solution, effectiveness of
That's a pretty good summary. Improve collaboration and teamwork. They're kind of the same thing, right? All right. So, clearly, unity is a very important quality for any project. And the reason we're spending time in lecture talking about it is because no textbook mentions it. Textbooks will talk about all the other things here. They will talk about collaboration and teamwork. They will talk about transparency, decision making, setting goals, how to have meetings, maybe about how to get trust. But none of them will say, all of these things come from unity. So now you know more than most textbooks. Every textbook. Now, I told you, so now the question is, unity is very important. Good. How do I get there? That's what we all want to know. How do I create unity? What is unity? So, what should I keep this? Unity has two pillars, right? A pillar. So there's one pillar and there's another pillar. Let's put it here. We all know what pillars are. So here is unity. Okay. And unity rests on two pillars. There are two things that unity requires. First one is love. If there is no love, there cannot be unity. If you don't love other people, you cannot have unity. The second thing unity requires The second thing unity requires is justice. What is justice? What is love? Both of these are the necessary conditions. You can have love but not justice, you cannot have unity. If you have justice but not love, you cannot have unity. You have to have both. Justice means more than this is the law, you must follow the law. But what is the law in a project, in a group of people? Justice is more than, then there's, justice has its own two pillars, I guess. But reward and punishment. So there has to be a sense of justice. People are treated fairly. The sense that things are fair. This one gets more than me, but that's fair because this one works more than me. Or I'm working longer hours, but that's fair because my part of the project is very intense right now. Her part of the project happens later. And then she will work more later. So there is justice. Or there is an opportunity to give a presentation, and every time there has a presentation, the project manager gives us each a chance to be the one to present. So that's fair. Right? There are many ways in which we ensure there is justice. Sometimes justice is equality. Everybody should have the same thing. So what I just gave as an example, everybody has the opportunity to present, for example. Sometimes justice is not equal. Yeah? What is an example where justice is not equal?
The project managers favor one person.
The project manager
Favor one person.
is one person?
Favor one person.
Favors one person. That is an example of justice?
Injustice.
Injustice. So showing favoritism would be an example of injustice. Can there be unity if you show favoritism? No. What are some other examples? Either examples of justice or injustice. Corruption would be injustice. What does corruption look like? Someone receiving bribes or giving bribes, paying bribes. What would be an example of justice where this one is treated differently than that one because of justice? I wish I had a projector, so I'll show you a simple example. So, if there are 3 friends, imagine 3 teenagers, and you want to go watch the sports game, the soccer game, football. But they can't go in, so they're trying to look over the fence. There's a fence around the field, and they want to watch. And the 3 friends are different heights. One is very tall, one is medium, one is short. Yeah? Have you seen this before? Yeah? Can you tell the rest of it? Yeah, tell us.
Just for things that...
If you know it, tell it.
No, I can't explain. I'm not good at explaining things.
You have to practice to get good at it.
No, but...
No? Practice isn't going to make... How are you going to get good if you don't practice? You don't want to become good at explaining things? So we have 3 friends. They're 3 different heights. The fence is... So let's say I'm the tallest one. Not anyway. So the fence is this high. So I can just stand on the ground and I can see the game. I'm very happy. Yeah? My 2 friends, can they see the game? No. Is this just? No. So what would justice look like? But it's equal. We're all standing on the same ground. We have the same opportunity. Opportunity is the same. We all have the opportunity to watch the game. But is this just? No. Right? We can all feel like that's not right. Right? They all should be able to watch the game. This is not. So maybe sometimes having equal opportunity is not the just thing to do. So what should I do? I should get a chair, a little box for my medium height friend. He doesn't need a lot, he needs a little bit of help, and then he can see. And I need a big box for our little friend who stands on the box. And now all 3 of us can see over the fence and we can enjoy the game together. Now there is justice, but not equality. We have achieved justice by not treating everyone equally. But it requires thinking. Sometimes justice is everything should be equal. Sometimes justice is it should not be equal. And I can't tell you which way is which in every single circumstance. You have to develop the capacity to recognize, to think. What would be the just thing? And why do you care about justice? Why are you concerned about justice? In order to have unity. Because you know that with unity, everything in your project will go better. Now, love. Do I mean that I have to take everybody out on a date? Is that what I mean? It might be fun, but I don't think that's what I mean. Okay, so if it's not that, it's not romantic love. Okay, what kind of love are we talking about? What does love look like in a project team? We gave some examples already. What does love look like among the members of a team?
Equal treatment.
Equal treatment? Okay, how are you thinking of that as love? Equal treatment. Can you give an example?
Shouldn't be a very good story.
So earlier we said that's an aspect of justice. So are you thinking it's also love, or is that maybe under justice? You think that's a sign of love, that I treat you all equally?
Yeah, it's I should give an example. It's like, just giving it notes, it's not good.
If I give notes, I should give to everyone. Okay. So, I think in a sense, that's because that's just. It's the just thing to do. But what motivates me to do it, why do I want to treat you all with justice? Because I love you. So we could say that love motivates or inspires justice. Why do I want to be just? Why do I want to have unity? Because I love you. So both are necessary and they are distinct. I can be just without loving. I can be loving without being just. Those can be. But usually you want them to work together. Any thoughts or questions or how to apply this? Do you like having a short break in the middle of a 2-hour lecture? Is that what Yeah? Okay. Let's take a 5-minute break and then we'll come back. Okay. Part 2. So, we started this morning. I said this was inspired by some of the responses to the assignments that I have received so far. Some of you have not submitted their assignments yet. I look forward to getting them. And so one of the responses was you wanted to learn about projects, how to create a foundation of understanding among all the participants in a project so that when problems arise, you can resolve those. And so that inspired this little exploration into the importance of unity and how you build unity. Of course, in practice, it's something that you have to practice. You will not be good at it at first. Just like everything in life, you have to work at it. But if you do, you will get better as you learn from experience. And actually, learning from experience, let me just put a little pin for the future. When we talk about monitoring and evaluation, the reason you do monitoring and evaluation is obviously to help the project succeed. The monitoring part. The evaluation you only do after the project is finished. You can't evaluate something that isn't done. You evaluate it after. So why do you evaluate? You evaluate because you want to learn. You want to learn so that the next project can do better. So even though the next project is a different thing, the people who are involved, you and others, or the organization, wants to learn from previous experience. So you can get better at carrying out projects, how you plan, how you manage, how you work with people. You can get better at mechanics, and you can get better at relationships. There is a course outline. Some of you have joined a bit later, so you maybe haven't seen it yet. And I would like to make this course useful and relevant to you. So there's the things that we're supposed to cover, but also some of you want to focus on this part, or you want to focus on that part. And there is some flexibility. We could focus more on these topics and less on other topics, for example. Also, how it connects to assessment. So what do you want to be assessed on? What is it you want to learn? And to see that, I have learned. When we started, I didn't know these things, or wasn't good at these things. Now I have learned. Now I have gotten better. I could just make up an assessment about the things I think you should learn. And it is my decision to make what I assess. But I would like your input. So I'm not sure how best to go about it. Whether we spend time in class discussing it, or maybe you want to think and next week we can discuss it in class. If you have some thoughts about what topics from the outline, or just what topics or what skills are you most interested? So don't say all of project management, and that's not very helpful. But if there's 2 or 3 particular things that you want to especially learn, then I can, so one way is I could send you like a survey and say, these are all the topics, vote for 2 or 3 or 5, and I see which ones have the most votes, and I can focus on those ones. That would be one way to do it. That's not the same thing as consulting, by the way. Notice? A survey, I find out what each person thinks, and I get the information. It's useful. What was that? Right? So a survey is a tool to find out what people think. It's useful, for example, when you're doing a needs assessment in a community, or you're deciding whether to introduce a new product in the marketplace, so on. But it's not the same as consulting. So another option is we could consult. But to focus on in this course, this is the question that I have, and I would like your input. So one way you could give input is I could send you a survey. Yeah. Another option is we could consult together, either now or next week, if you feel you need to think about it first. Any other suggestions for how we... I'm open to... Actually, there's... So what to focus on? The other question I have is, what do you already know? Some of you, I realize, have, either here or somewhere else, you've learned something already about projects. And I don't want to... If everybody already knows it, then why should we do it again, right? So maybe what to focus on in this course, and other part will be what not to focus on. Yes, Frank?
So, questions.
You somehow?
Francis,
Francis, would you go help Frank? He needs your help.
My love.
So there's actually two questions. What to focus on and what not to focus on. There's things that everybody... So maybe a survey will be useful for what not to focus on. Yeah? So maybe I'll send you a survey to find out what do you already know. What you already know. If you already know but you want to review it, repeat it, then that's okay. Then we can do it again. But then the question, the original question, what to focus on? How would you like to do it? So, if there are any other ideas, we can add to this list and then we can just vote. Did you have a suggestion? Send this way. How do others? What do you think they can do?
That's okay.
Which one? Okay, how many people like the idea of a survey? Raise your hand. I will close my eyes, somebody can count and you can tell me. My eyes are closed. Somebody count how many hands are out.
Yeah.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, how many?
4.
4. Not very much. All right. Hand down. How many people want to consult? Raise your hand. I'm closing my eyes.
That's done.
Consult this week or next week?
0.
0? 0. Really?
0.
0. Okay. Hands down. All 0 hands down. Okay. All right. So I'll send a survey. Thank you. Because I do care that you enjoy this class and feel that you're learning. Now, related to that, somebody suggested, and I thought this was very good, they wanted to learn how to write a project proposal. Yes, oh, that was an instant response. So a project proposal and a project plan, I guess you also want to know. Is that something you want to do? You want to learn how to, so actually practice doing that?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So I'll plan for that. Check that. And the other thought I have is, there are, when we get to doing, there are certain techniques for project management, like time, especially with time and budget and resource allocation, where there's computer systems that are used nowadays to help with those tasks. We can learn those techniques in like the theory of it, so from a textbook, and I can explain here in class. But we could also have like, I'm not sure how to do this. I don't know if we have access to computers here or if you would do it on your own. But we could try to do some hands-on. Yeah, so actually, taking a computer and saying, okay, you put in numbers like this and that, and you create a thing. Would that be, would you like to do that? So the two options are, I can teach you the techniques just on the board and you can learn them, you know them. Or you can also actually do some exercises on a computer using the software. So that's called hands-on. Your hands are on them, you're doing it. The other way is you sit and listen and I tell you. And then you get an exam about it. How many?
What if teachers will try to do it?
Yeah. How many people have their own laptops or access to a laptop or a computer? 1, 2. Okay, not very many. So I can't really give it to you as homework. It would have to be during class time, right? Would you be interested if I try to find a way that we can do it? Maybe we have to share some computers, you work in small groups, or... Huh? Find a way? Yeah. Oh, this reminds me. This will sound funny, but if you read these project management textbooks, you will find the modern ones, there's always a section about communication, and there's a subsection on cultural communication. Because many project managers now are sent to a different country, different parts of the world. So they have a whole thing about cultural competencies and learning new cultures and so on. So teaching a course is a project. It has a beginning and an end, it has an aim, it has stakeholders and resources and so on. So anyway, that's just an intro. But I know that I have a teaching style that is probably different than what you are used to. And also, I've noticed that people have a way here, you have learned very subtle ways of saying or showing what you think, or yes or no, without using words. I don't know those. I'm still learning. So if you'll be patient with me, or help me to learn, that what are those subtle things you do that to you it's very clear that you're indicating, yes, we get it, you can go on, or we're lost and confused and can you repeat something? It will help me, which will help you, if you can teach me when you're trying to say something, what is it you're trying to communicate? Which will be a bit of a stretch for you, because it might not be how you're used to doing it. And I will try and learn to read your body language better. And I thought I would point that out, both because it will be helpful for class, but also as an example, if you're involved in a project with people from other parts of the world, one of the very real things are things like this, right? You're sitting in a meeting, and you think someone is rude. They keep talking all the time. Why doesn't this person, they're not letting other people talk? But to that person, in their culture, you're supposed to talk. They're thinking, why is everyone quiet? Nobody is saying anything. So then they talk more. They think nobody has anything to say, so I'll keep talking. They don't know. So this is culture, you see? Now maybe this is obvious to you already know this. But there's many examples like that. So noticing when you have a reaction like, why is this person talking all the time? Why is this person quiet? Why does this person look me in the eye always? For some people, that's very stop looking at me, But in North American culture, we are taught that if you are talking to someone, you should look at them. If I don't look at you when I'm talking, it is rude. In Malawi, it seems to be the opposite. If I look at you when I'm talking, you think, I should not look at you when I talk. Now, you bring these two people together, somebody is going to misunderstand the other person, right? Or both of them. So then you have to, it doesn't mean one is right or wrong, but you have to be aware. and say, that's why the person is doing it. Not that I have to do the same thing, but I could say, I understand that for you, you're showing respect by looking at me, but understand that when I don't look back at you, that's my way of showing respect. Yeah? Then they're like, okay, I understand. And now we agree. So, that's a very practical aspect of cultural. So you get to practice every time you come to class. We get to practice cultural communication. So, to the previous topic, hands-on would be good if we can figure it out. Is that the consensus? Does everybody like that idea? Mercy thinks yes. Does anybody think no? Everyone looks away. That's a sign we agree. Not everyone. Some people look at me. You agree? Okay. Maybe make your nose bigger. It's very small little nod. I don't see it. Okay. So that's good. Then we have this. Let me check my time. One other thing, at some point during this course, each of you should have the opportunity to make a presentation in class. So you would pick a topic, you would read about it, research, like, say a 10-minute presentation, something like that. Have you given presentations in class before? Yeah? Okay. Oh, thank you. I saw that. Okay. So, we will have class presentations, in part because when you're in a project, there will always be presentations, different kinds. So getting practice is good, more practice. This is week 4. And we are more than a few. So I will come up with a schedule, and you can pick a topic, and you check with me if it's a good topic, or maybe we can adjust it. And then maybe every week we can have 2 presentations. I think that'll more or less fit, see how the schedule goes. And about something related to project management. So you could, for example, look at the outline and choose a topic from here, and then go read about one particular piece, and we can talk. So each of you can talk with me about, I'm thinking I want to present on this or this. So one option is just about a topic that you research. Another option would be about an experience you have. So in some of their assignments, there were some very interesting experiences with projects that you could also share. But maybe we can work on adding some more detail, and I would give you more specific directions of how to prepare that. And that will be part of the assessment for the course, is this class presentation. So how well you prepare and how well you present. Presentations. I think that's an important part of achieving the aims of this class. Then, any questions? So the class project, you had talked about wanting to improve enrollment through entertainment, improving entertainment. Is that? Yeah? Yeah? Can you repeat? Through entertainment. Okay. What I would like to suggest we do. So, the purpose of doing a class project is also to learn and apply some of the techniques of project management as we implement, select, design, and implement a project. So, this is an initial idea. And there's a technique that is very common in development projects, international development. So anybody working in that field, if you write a proposal to the World Bank, USAID, the EU, any of these big donor organizations, and even smaller ones, nowadays they will usually ask you in the proposal for one of two things that are kind of the same but kind of different. So I'll explain. One is called a theory of change. And the other one is called, can you read this time? Is it readable? Yeah. The other one is called a logical framework. Both of these, a theory of change or a logical framework, they both have the purpose of helping us to think and to make explicit, to be clear about the relationships in the project that we have in mind. We talked about this, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? Remember we had activities, outcomes, objectives, goals, table down here. Huh? Last week. Yeah. So that was part of the logical framework. Okay? So both of these are ways of structuring our ideas. So these are ways structuring or clarifying our understanding I'm going to use a new word here, the system. When we say a system, we mean some portion of reality. So a system could be, for example, this classroom is a system. Our class is a system. It has students, so it has components. A system has pieces, components. In this case, students, a lecturer, a course outline, curriculum, an assessment structure, all sorts of things. Together, those make up what we call this course. So this course is a system. And those pieces have relationships with each other. So a system is a set of pieces that have some relationship to each other. It also has a relationship to its environment. Another example of a system would be a tree. A tree has roots, a trunk, branches, leaves, all the parts inside the trunk and the leaves and the branches and so on. So altogether, the tree is a system. But the tree doesn't live by itself. It interacts with the soil, it interacts with the sun, it interacts with the air, animals, etc. So the system lives in an environment. It has interactions with that environment, and there are interactions inside of the system. So these are parts. So we said in a tree, this might be the roots, this might be the trunk, this might be the branches, and this might be the leaves. Yeah. And there are interactions between, roots don't interact with leaves. So there's no connection here. So all of these lines are the lines of interaction between these parts. Maybe the trunk doesn't interact with the leaves and the roots don't interact with the branches. So anyway, you could think of, for every system you could draw a diagram like this. You could think, what are the parts of the system? What are the interactions between those parts? And then, what is in the environment of this system? So the tree, we said, doesn't live by itself. It interacts with the soil, with the sun, with the air, and with creatures. Yeah? Suppose. This would be the system of a tree. But I could also take the system of the whole forest. Instead of one tree, my system could be the whole forest. What would be some components, some pieces of the system of the forest? What is a forest made of? What is inside a forest? Trees. What else? Creatures. Okay. Grass. That's just grass and stuff. Trees, grasses, creatures. Anything else? Sort of. Depends on. So maybe the soil is part of. When you study the forest, you think of the soil as part of the forest. Maybe someone else studying the forest, to them the soil is not part of the forest. The forest is the thing that is above the soil. The soil is a separate, it's the environment. So a system is not, there is not a right answer. What is the correct system? There is only, is it a useful system? You choose. A system is a thing that we choose. Human beings decide. It doesn't exist in nature. Okay? So a system is a thing that you identify and you describe. Now, this is just an example. Obviously, we're not interested in trees specifically. Maybe you have a project to do with trees and then you care. But in our case, that's not what we're interested in. But I'm trying to demonstrate that a system, so a system, and this you should know, a system has parts. A system has parts that interact with each other. Okay? And a system interacts with its environment. So, by the way, this W slash, that's my way of writing with. I learned it from my father. So, with each other. So a system is, the other thing is, it's, I don't want to say artificial, but it's a thing you choose. It's a thing, it's not arbitrary, it's not random. It wouldn't make sense to say, my system is this computer, that bush, and that door. I mean, I could say that, but it's not useful. There's nothing really that connects these things. They don't make sense to me. So a system is not a random set of things. It is a thing that we think of like, yeah, that it has a certain identity. But it's not rigid. It's not fixed. You have to kind of think about it. Okay? So it's a thing we identify. Now, why is this important? When you carry out a project, your project is trying to create a change. Remember? A project does one of two things. It creates something new, or it seeks to improve something that exists. And if you think one level higher, you say, well, even creating something new is to improve something. That's usually the lives of people. I'm building a new bridge to improve the lives of people. I'm writing a book. That's a project. I'm writing this book to improve the lives of people. Okay? So every project is to improve something. And in order to make an improvement, you want to understand, how do I improve? What happens in that system? If I think that I'm going to write a book and it will help, why do I think writing a book will help? How will it help? We want to be a little bit scientific in our thinking. I don't mean we're going to go be scientists and work in a lab and pour chemicals and create explosions. I mean we're going to be rational. We're going to do this with understanding. That's what these try to do. Most people don't do these very well. I hope that together we will learn how to do these well, to really understand what they're trying to do. And the first part is to understand that the thing you're working on, so a community, you go to a village, or a set of villages, or a region, or a neighborhood, or a few households together, whatever you choose, that is your system. Now you say, our project is to improve the lives of people in this system. And then you say, well, improve their lives how? Let's say, improve nutrition, or improve literacy, or improve economic outcomes, right? Now, what actually contributes to literacy? Is it enough that I give them books? Probably not. If they don't know how to read, a book is not useful. It has to come with a teacher. Okay, do I need the teacher and the books, or is the teacher by themselves enough? Do you know? I don't know. If I send teachers, how many teachers? How many books? Do they need a building? Is the building essential? Maybe if there's only 10 people, no. If there's 1,000 people, maybe yes. I need to understand my system. What is its reality? What are the relationships? Is the reason that there is illiteracy, people don't know how to read, because there is not enough school? Or is there a cultural practice that prevents some people from going to school? Because girls marry at age 8, and when they marry, they are now required to stay at home, then they stop going to school. So if I come and I think, there's very high illiteracy, we need a project, I'm going to come and build more schools and hire more teachers. Will it help? Will it help in this case?
No.
No, why?
The reason why there's not a lot of students is not because of few teachers in schools. It's a cultural thing.
Exactly. So in this case, I did not correctly understand my system. I didn't analyze what are the reasons, what are the things that cause behavior. People do things for a reason. What is that reason? That's what these help you to, it's an exercise. These are tools that help you, that force you to think through. So we're almost out of time today, but next week we will look now, how exactly do you do these? Yeah? In order to have a correct understanding of the reality of my system, both the parts, the interactions between the parts, the interactions with the environment. So in the case that I just gave, my system is, let's say, the school children. So all children up to age 15 in this village. That's my system. Not their parents, not the school, just the children. I say, and my system of the children is, I measure their literacy rate is very low. And I want to understand why. Well, there's a cultural practice. The cultural practice is not within the children. It comes from their environment, right? So in this case, part of my analysis would be the environment. There is some interaction there that has an impact on my system. I need to understand this interaction in order to decide, maybe my project actually needs to address this. So maybe the system now that I'm going to work with should include, so this is now the children, I need to include the, how do I change those cultural practices? Maybe I have to engage the chiefs. There needs to be some education of the chiefs, or another reason. So now, suddenly, the focus of my whole project design, my aim is still to help these school children become literate. But the plan of my project will change completely. When we started, we thought we were going to build schools and hire teachers. But now we see that the way to achieve the aim is not to build schools and hire teachers. It's to have an education program for chiefs and for parents. We're not even going to talk to the children. That's not where the problem is. You see? That's the importance of having a theory of change or a logical framework, is to understand these relationships so that the project you design actually produces the results you want. Any questions about? This is just an introduction. Next week we will do some examples, and we're going to work with it more. We're going to go through the steps, how do we do this, and so on. But for right now, any thoughts or questions? No? Okay. So yeah, take note of this. This is important. And in the last couple of minutes, so that's what I wanted to cover for now. I have some people's, if you gave me your assignment, I have it. You should come pick it up. And otherwise, anything else you need to say? Possible. I have. Did everybody sign? Did everybody sign the attendance? I noticed some initials have been added last week that were not there before. I have noticed. I hope that you're filling in because you forgot, not because you were not there and you're trying to pretend that you were there. Very interesting. Merci. Send me a You have a WhatsApp group. Are you organizing? You took me out of Sharon, it's yours. Her grades are easy. Is it, mine is not here, Nova and Lawrence. Eunice told me she was sick. Yeah. Somehow, I guess I forgot that somebody was something on WhatsApp, so I don't think those were.
The guy